She's in the celebrity chair.
She is. She's in the celebrity
As usual.
chair.
Frank tried to switch chairs off camera, but we're
Sarah,
sticking.
from what we just heard there, from what we heard in the entire press conference, it just seems like the Nets have that stabilizing force that they've needed.
Well, and I know a lot of us had said this. I really mean it from the time that it was announced that the Nets were hiring Jordi Fernández. There was an outpouring of whether it was former players, those who have worked with him, that could not say enough both about his basketball acumen, but also the way in which he resonates with players. And I think that's very important. There is a stabilizing factor. The concept that you have someone who has experienced so many different areas of coaching in both places, in positions. And I think he has a very clear idea of how he wants to run this organization.
Yeah, you think about it, 6 of the last 7 MVPs are European. 2 of the finalists this year, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic. Nikola Jokic could win it again. So when you talk about European basketball, well, obviously somebody's coaching them. And I think now, don't you think maybe it's a little bit more accepted to bring in international coaches? Or maybe 10 years ago, people thought, I don't think they can do that in the NBA.
No, and even the concept of he helped the Canadian national team to their first World Cup medal, and what that roster looks like. And as you had mentioned, and just the understanding and idea of the evolving nature of the NBA. And I think that's really important. We don't know exactly what the Nets roster is going to look like, come September, come October, how that goes. But I think he's got an adaptability of those he's coached under and an understanding of how to continue to use all of that experience, but also a fresh start and being able to continue to mold his coaching style.
He also talked about that sports psychology background. And I know you played for Doug Bruno at DePaul. And I know it wasn't always sunshine and roses at practices with Doug Bruno, but I did a game with you at DePaul, and he absolutely loves you. There's that fine line, this is where I'm going, that you could have with a player where you could have a great relationship. When it's time to coach them up, though, you got to coach them up.
Look, I think that aspect is huge and should not be overlooked as something that is impressive in the sense of just an added element of his educational background. It is a huge part. We all know this. We see this in the NBA. Yes, it's X's and O's. Yes, it's about how you're game planning for teams. It's the scouting. It's the in-game adjustments. It's also how are you relating to players, and that's 1 through 15, 1 through 17 on your roster. And so I think the concept that that's an area that he could thrive is hugely important, in particular now where the game is at.
And I also think, too, you think about his career. He was in Cleveland, David Blatt, Ty Lue. He's with Mike Brown in Sacramento, Michael Malone in Denver. But you're in an organization with LeBron, the expectation is winning. You get Nikola Jokic in your organization, the expectation is winning. Obviously, with Sacramento, they took a big leap the last couple of years. So I think he comes out. I don't think he's going to be naive. I don't think anything is really going to surprise him or shock him. It's going to be overwhelming for him. How about that?
Well, in all of the things you said, but even think about just the most recent snippet with that Sacramento Kings team, what they did over the course of the past 2 seasons, the players that he was operating with, and in particular, a young player like De'Aaron Fox, but exceeding expectations. So I thought it was really interesting early on in the press conference when he was asked about what to expect or the timeline of what it looks like, the improvement. I like the fact that regardless of what that gauge is, the improvements immediately. You want to make a jump. You want to have some type of a push of, yes, this is a fresh start and starting ground, but the concept of you want to have someone motivated to find ways to improve and get better regardless of what the roster looks like. And he's been in places where that pressure has existed.
At 15 years of age, you were a baller. Your love of the game was playing the game. He's 15 years of age. He's getting into coaching. So you know the passion, the knowledge. He eats, sleeps, breathes basketball.
I have more questions for him about that because he said it sounded like he was a player coach from 15 to 19.
15
He's like,
to 19.
I played till I'm 19. I'm like, that's something that you look into. But yeah, if your mind is already working in that capacity, I think that says a lot about now why he's where he's at this point.